Hello, Backstage community. Hope you guys can hear me and see me okay. So excited to be here with you guys today. Just making sure everything is in focus and working. And we see there's a lot of you guys just coming online right now. And I know some of you all will be watching this at some point later. But really just we'll get into what we're going to do in a little bit, but just wanted to see how you guys are doing. I know in the last couple of weeks of online classes, we've been just checking in with everybody. So I hope you guys are happy, healthy, safe, adjusting to what's going on. I don't think it's going to be the new normal, but we're definitely shifting into something and moving towards something that is potentially very exciting, even though we don't want this virus around, of course. But I hope you guys are doing well. Just wanted to thank you all for joining us this morning and this afternoon if you're in New York. And yeah, I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am and quickly, and then we're going to get into the point of this meeting, which is how to stay ridiculously proactive while we're keeping social distance and while we're staying safe at home. Not as wishful thinking, but because legitimately things are so busy right now in this industry, and I'm going to talk with you guys about it. And then at the end, we'll do some question answer time where we can have a little bit of a chat. But again, thank you all for being here. I know you guys are coming online as I'm talking, but we'll dive in. All right. It's kind of fun to hunker down. We're all in the same boat here. We're all, at home, sort of sheltered in and keeping everybody else safe. So let's dive in here. Many of you have been reading my articles for years on Backstage, and it's been a joy. I've been lucky enough to have this incredible partnership with Backstage over the years, and have been writing articles for many years now. And I know a lot of you guys have been reading those articles. If you haven't, you can just look them up. They're archived on Backstage. And the latest one is about how to teleport yourself to an A-list acting career. How it was kind of based on something that Jason Bateman said during his Emmy acceptance speech a year or two ago for Ozark. And he said to actors, he said, you guys are just one job away from the next big thing in your career. And if you think about it like that, if you're just one job away, you don't have to worry about climbing the rungs of the ladder like you're supposed to and people tell you. So you can think about things in a different way. So check out that article, How to Teleport Yourself to an A-List Acting Career. Something like that. But yeah, teleport A-List Acting Career. You can look that up. My name is Joseph Pearlman. And at my studio, Pearlman Acting Academy, we help actors launch their careers faster and reach Oscar potential on set. It's the most advanced training in the industry, and we offer private coaching and classes from beginner to working professional and celebrity. And all of our coaching and classes are all up on Zoom right now. The actors in our classes get to compete for new major film and TV roles every week, and we actually strategize with those clients to compete for those roles, essentially making getting in the room the easy part. And we help actors to guarantee an audition win every time they walk in the room. And what is a guaranteed audition win? You go in a room, you video audition, you audition via Zoom or Skype or whatever. It is obviously you get the role, but another win is you get a callback or a chemistry read or a producer session. And then another exciting result is that somebody falls in love with you and brings you back in over and over again until you book. The classes are like private coaching. There's no scene study. There is scene study, but there's no scene partners, and the classes are small. And we do work on audition technique and scene study. And this year, we coached over 100 actors to booked roles and helped over 20 clients land series leads in major cable and network shows. I'm going to show you that not a lot has changed right now about the busyness in the industry with regards to being proactive and achieving these results. And a little background, I've been doing this for many years. I grew up in Boston. I went to New York University. I studied at Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. I did regional theater for years. I started a theater company in Brooklyn and got into coaching. Always kind of coached actors, but really got into coaching heavily when I moved to Los Angeles about 15 years ago. I started working at this boutique acting studio where we had a young Zooey Deschanel and Amy Adams and Ryan Reynolds, and we all kind of came up together over the years. And my studio is based in LA, even though we do, Zoom around the world, Zoom classes. But we have affiliates in London, New Orleans, Chicago, Las Vegas, Tokyo, and we work with people like Ridley Scott, Ryan Reynolds, HBO, AMC. I coach TED Talks, Eliza Schlesinger, Zooey Deschanel, etc. And I also do coaching for all the award shows like the Oscars, Emmys, Grammys, Golden Globes, and Independent and Spirit Awards. So any questions you guys have about me, happy to talk about that. But I want to get into what we're talking about, which is how you guys can continue to stay amazingly proactive while you stay safe at home. That's why you guys are here. And I want to talk about it. All right. One, right now, it's so busy, whether you know it or not. A lot of production, even though a lot of production is stopped, there's an undertow of development going on underneath the surface. I don't know if you guys know that. Writers' rooms are still in full swing and booming. And one of the management companies that I work with sent out 106 auditions on tape last week. So, that's like the busiest week they've had this year. So things are not stopped, which is really good. This is the best time to reach out to people you've always dreamed of connecting with. If you do this properly, and we're going to talk about this, if you do this properly, these people will be friends for life. And this is really important. We're going to talk about, what that means to do it properly. So people are starving to talk, they're dying to connect with other people. It's possible to schedule virtual general meetings or virtual coffee. And for the first time, I think, in history, people all over the world are really thrilled to connect to other people via video platforms like this or Zoom or however you do it, FaceTime, etc. And then it's also important to really solidify the relationships that you already have and to start the thinking about how to do that, because I'm going to talk to you guys about how. And the how is going to be different for each of you. It's really important to think larger than simply just telling a story about yourself. Does that make sense? It's not about asking someone for things or putting someone to work. It's about going into it with the intention of making some lifetime friends and really just checking in with other human beings and knowing that relationships take some time to develop. So let's backtrack a little bit, because it's gonna be pretty extensive what we talk about. Now, just kind of also getting real, and let's all land on the same page today. I want to go over some really important points that have come last couple of years and are especially important now. And one of those things for you guys to know is now, especially more than ever, there are no rules. There were not even any rules before all this happened. But now, especially you guys, there are no rules. This is like we're sort of in the wild west of things. Yes, there's proper etiquette, but it's important to realize that your path to your dream career is going to be different than anybody else's path. And everybody involved might be scared. Producers, writers, directors, actors, casting directors, everybody's scared. People don't know when their next job is, if their next job is. So that's important to realize. We're all really in the same boat right now. And I've been talking about this stuff and writing about this stuff for years, but right now it's obvious that this is what's happening. Everybody is scared, not just about the virus. I'm not talking about the virus. I'm just talking about not knowing what the future is going to be like, not quite understanding the present. If it's casting, if roles are casting, it really can be too late to meaningfully compete if you don't have a pre and post game strategy to stake those roles. So let's check in about this right now. Casting directors have a very important job to do, bringing a large group of actors into a smaller group of actors and presenting those wonderful actors to the production company, the writers, directors, producers. And the producers, these are the people that are actually making the final casting decisions. So don't you think, in addition to the stellar relationships that you're building with casting, don't you think that it's also important to invest strategy in how you're going to build game-changing relationships with the people who actually cast you, the writers, the directors, the producers? And it's always been very easy and possible to build those relationships, but right now, I'm telling you guys, it's even easier. It's just important to have a solid strategy game plan in place. So why, especially now? Well, over the last couple of years, a lot of production has taken over their own casting, and that's happening a lot now. So a lot of these currently casting projects are being done directly through production companies. So that's just sort of a little bit about where we're at and the state of things right now. How do I do all this? Where do I start, basically? It's not enough to be good. As I've said before, you have to be great, you guys. This is the Olympics. That's what Backstage is all about with the content that they produce. That's what I'm all about, what my studio is all about, the people like me doing what we do. It's about getting you guys to your Olympic best, training you for the Olympics, because it's that competitive. So one, it's important that you're not good. You gotta be great. And then the other thing too is, it's like, more important than the acting, you guys, is who you are as human beings. We don't talk about this enough. We invest a lot of thought and energy in how do I deliver my best performance, and I do it all the time at the studio. How do you guarantee a win in the room or reach Oscar level performance on set? But we don't talk about the interview of who you are before you start acting. It happens all the time. It's before you go into an audition, and auditions are happening online right now, is not the time to be whipping yourself up into your acting preparation. Because when you walk in the door, when you connect with someone on a video platform, when you talk to someone on the phone, when you engage with other people who are potential collaborators, you need to be prepared to be interviewed as you as a human being before you as an actor. Someone's going to want to know who they're going to be hanging out with for 6 years. I see a lot of questions. Well, like I said, we'll get to some at the end, and we'll camp out hunker down and I'll hang out with you guys and some of your questions in a little bit. But right now, I have a lot of information that I really do hope and feel is going to be incredibly useful to you. So there are 3 things to establish, you guys, when you walk in a room, when you connect with someone online. And these 3 things are this. 1, you want to establish yourself as somebody who is fun to play with, okay? Not someone who just wants something from someone, but someone who's fun to play with. That's 1. Number 2, you guys want to also establish that you're someone that other people can personally like. Because like I said before, people are sussing out, like, what is it going to be like to hang out with this person for years or months at a time? This is really important. And number 3, there can be 0 desperation. Does that make sense? Like, think about it. Like, how does it feel when somebody comes up to you and they're not so concerned with you, they want something from you? So 0 desperation is sort of leaving the things that you want really at the door when you walk in, so you can just hang out with somebody. Does that make sense? It's like people don't want to feel put to work and they don't want to feel pulled on. They want to feel like they're engaging with an equal collaborator. So just to review again, be someone that someone can personally like. You guys are all these wonderful personalities. It's really important to let that shine, especially now. Be someone that is fun to play with. 2, be someone that people personally like. And 3, there should be 0 desperation. Yeah. And with regards to the acting and the choices, you know, like I said, you guys are invited to come watch my masterclass for free. It's every Thursday night at 7 p.m. and you can watch the celebrity level, series lead level actors. We have a Game of Thrones actor this Thursday getting a workout on currently casting sites. And what the job is in the classroom with regards to acting is outdangering your competition, is making choices that pop people's heads up, that are literally more dangerous than the other actors going in. Because one of the things we think of with acting is that a lot of actors make the mistake of thinking that the character descriptions and the scene descriptions are your acting instructions. They're not to be ignored, but they're certainly not for you to obey. It's part of a writer's pitch, those stage directions, those character descriptions. They were written by breakdown services or casting. Your job is to do the thing that nobody else does. Because when that happens, we get the incredible note from the producers. It was like, it wasn't at all what we were looking for. It was better. J.J. Abrams even told one of our clients, wrote her a personal email because she booked a regular in one of his new shows. He said to her, "Thank you for being the only one willing to take a risk. That was the one reason why I didn't need to." I could tell Showtime we're done with casting. So with regards to the acting, you really do, as one of my wonderful clients, Eugene Simon from Game of Thrones said, you do want to stand out without screaming, not to back off, not to fit in, not to play it safe. Here's where the process starts. So the title of this, the title of this event is How to Stay Fiercely Proactive from the Safety of Home. And I've already talked to you guys about the fact that even though a lot of production is stalled or paused or shut down, there is an undercurrent of activity. One management company alone, if you're just joining us, had 106 taped auditions last week. We have clients sending in multiple voiceover auditions, multiple acting auditions on tape from the privacy of their own homes using a simple setup, sort of like the one that I have with the background and lighting. So it's busy. It's undeniably busy. And I think a lot of people are, I think as this virus was first starting to sweep through, it was like people were sort of thinking, okay, I can't wait till we get back to normal. When we get back to in person, when we get back to this. Well, this virus is going to come and it's ultimately going to go. And for those of you that just tuned in, I hope you guys are safe and happy and taking great care of yourself. And thank you for being here today. But things are not going back to normal, okay? We may be going back to some things, but things are changing. And I think a lot of these changes, you guys, are really for the better. It's easier to connect with people. It's easier to reach out, easier than ever to do that. So I'm actually really optimistic and hopeful and excited about this ship that we're all in and where it's taking us in the industry right now. And I hope you guys are too. That's not to say we're going to get back to some things of comfort and safety and all that, but I do want to hear how you guys think about the way we're moving forward a little bit later. Here's the first question that you need to ask. What do you guys want? It's so important. Remember what I said in the beginning. It's like, now is the time to it's the best time ever to reach out to the people you've always dreamed of connecting to, but didn't feel like you had permission to connect to. And I said, if done properly, these people will be friends for life. Now, I've been doing this work with actors for years. I helped an actor, a wonderful actor in Montreal. And I've always helped my clients in the career work to, how do you build career-changing, game-changing relationships with the people who are in a position to actually make the final casting decisions, the writers, the directors, and the producers, to have a really solid pre-game strategy for when you go into casting, to be someone who's known by production. That's really important. To be an actor going into casting, production approved, producer approved. And the show that she really wanted to be on was Handmaid's Tale on Hulu. And originally, when we were having this conversation, I was helping her with how to pitch herself to get those types of roles. She was thinking, well, who am I to do this? And you guys might be thinking, who am I to be able to do this? I don't have major credits, or I'm not somebody that people know. It is possible to find the language, if you really dig at it, to pitch yourself, to compete for, to build relationships with every major film and TV role that's casting, and any great writer, director, producer that you guys want to work with. And I'm going to talk about that as well in a little bit. And she said, who am I to do this? Well, 5 months later, she did it. I helped her to do it, and I'm getting footage of her on The Handmaid's Tale as a horrible scene, as a baby is ripped out of her arms, and Elizabeth Moss is in that scene, and it's an incredible scene. And here she is 5 or 6 months later, actually on Handmaid's Tale. And all it took was her to, one, not be good as an actor, to be great, and two, to be very clear about who she wants to work with. So think about it, you guys, and don't, it's like, what are the dream relationships that nobody will judge? And you should write it down, and you should all have a list of I'd say maybe 7 to 20. And it's okay if it's just 5, but who are the writers? Who are the directors? Who are the producers you want to work with? You guys, what are the shows that you want to be a part of? And let's say, a production on a lot of shows is tabled right now, but I don't know if you guys know this, original content is being created using this format, using the Zoom format, the online format, creating content. So it's like the people who write and direct and produce are creating content to be produced in this manner that we're, in the way we're speaking right now. So it's very exciting. So have a list, write it down, think about it. And think about it like this too. Let's say there's a film that came out some years ago, or a show you really liked, Breaking Bad. Well, the people that produce that are producing other shows like that. And what's amazing is some of the producers and production companies of these shows, you guys, are literally producing 30 to 50 other projects right now that are in some form of development, okay? Even now, if you're joining us late in the game, it's really freaking busy right now. There's an undertow of busyness. Good. So know what you want. Be very clear about who you want to work with. And then the process starts of how are you going to sell yourself? How are you going to pitch yourself on the phone to be undeniable on a telephone? Because these pitches that I'm helping my clients with are all on a telephone followed by an email. A lot of actors say, well, I got an email address. Can I just send an email? No, nobody knows you, okay? The point of, Steve Jobs said this once, the ability to use the phone properly separates the doers from the dreamers. And a lot of folks listening to this are going to say, like a lot of actors say, well, won't they get angry? Or I'm not supposed to do this. Well, you know what? There's a right way and a wrong way to do this. And you can't do this if you're not great. And you can't do this if you don't have a solid strategy about how you're going to go about doing this. And it is possible to do this. And this is what people, this is what people do at the highest level, is to earn the right to send an incredible email with the subject line, as per your request, as per our conversation. That's the point of a phone call. But no, you don't want to be making these phone calls if you're not at your sort of great point as an actor. And if you're not clear about what your strategy is and how you're selling yourself when you get on the phone. And we're gonna talk about that. How do you sell yourself when you pick up the phone or your reps pick up the phone and pitch? This is something I've said before. 99% of agents and managers out there don't do the one thing necessary to get actors auditions. You guys know what that one thing is? The one thing necessary to get actors audition is to actually get on the phone. And the companies, the agents and the managers making hundreds of calls for their clients every week. Okay? That's why the common story among actors is like, oh, it's been a year and I've only gone out for 0 to 7 or 0 to 3 major roles. Literally 0 to 3 or 0 to 7. Why is that? Is because the agents and managers did not know that it was their responsibility to actually be picking up a phone and pitching. And the ones that don't, it is fear that's stopping them. It's, oh, someone's going to get angry with me, or I'm not supposed to do that. You can't have a career as an agent and manager and be successful if you don't do that. So that's what's going on, you guys. 99% of reps don't do that. 1% do. Those reps are generating 50 to 100 major roles for their actors. It is possible, until you have those sort of incredible level agents and managers, for you guys to be doing that on your own. There's a right way and there's a wrong way to do it. And we start with this. I'm going to read you guys a really neat quote and sort of thinking about, how am I presenting myself? How am I pitching myself? What am I going to say that can't be ignored, where someone's going to say, wow, and want to connect with me, and we can kind of keep that ball rolling and develop that relationship. It's not the obvious things. It's not your niche. It's not your type. There are a lot of these workshops, I know in New York and Los Angeles, about your niche or your type. And just know that whatever your niche is or whatever your type is has nothing to do with A-list celebrity level branding. Your niche or your type is really a discussion about what are the things, role types that you could kind of neatly fit into that pre-exist. But guess what? 100 other actors can all fit into those boxes. I'm more interested in a conversation that asks, what is the thing that you do that nobody else does? That was one of the neat things about working with Zooey Deschanel early in her career is, what are the things about an actor that make her or him so unique that if you can't have that actor, you have to have sort of a second best type of actor. There was a moment, you guys are all relating to that agent manager thing. So many actors are in the same boat. 99% of reps don't pick up the phone, and they're supposed to. And guess what? The reps that don't pick up the phone are not going to wake up the next morning and realized they were supposed to do that. Does that make sense? It's your responsibility to learn how to do it on your own and move on and book enough roles to attract higher level reps. Zooey Deschanel came to me years ago for a taped audition for a big movie with Philip Seymour Hoffman was in it. And she kind of looked bummed when she walked in the door. So it's a really fun story I remember from years ago. And I said, Zoe, like, what's wrong? You kind of look bummed out. And she kind of handed me a piece of paper and she said, here, look at this. And I looked at the paper, and on the paper, there was a really exciting role with the character description, and it said, looking for a Zooey Deschanel type. And she's like, what am I supposed to do? Anyway, the whole new girl thing happened and she was fine and all that. But what is the thing that you do that nobody else does? And there was a really, really beautiful, I'm going to share that in a little bit, a quote from Dianna Vreeland, former editor of Vogue. It starts with something called value proposition. I don't know about a lot of you. Have you ever heard of this? What is unique value proposition? It's really important. It is, I'm going to share with you a little bit about what it is and how you can start to get the conversation going and ask some questions to start to distill this, because your way of reaching out to these people and pitching yourself is going to be very different than somebody else's. There's no one size fits all. That's why a lot of these branding workshops or niche type workshops, it's like, kind of, as one of my favorite philosophers, Alan Watts, says, it's like trying to steal your watch and sell it back to you. You know, we're all these unique people. Our value propositions are unique to us. What is a value proposition? To launch your career and build game-changing relationships with major industry players, you need to know how you're going to sell yourself when you or your team get on the phone with producers, with directors, with casting directors, etc. What are you going to say that can't be ignored? Okay? It's something so irresistible and exciting that when you say it, someone says, "Wow, that sounds totally awesome. I need someone like you on my team. Please tell me more." And to get that wow, you have to show your future collaborators that you get exactly what they want and deliver it to them in a simple, easily digestible, and baggage-free way. And it's important that you're brief and to the point about it. In the business world, you guys, this is called value proposition or unique value proposition. And it's a brief statement that gets to the bottom line of what you're offering, why it's useful, why you have utility for somebody, and why you are the solution to their problem. It forms the genetic code for all your future marketing, social media posts, phone, email pitches. It informs everything from your websites to your pictures to what you're going to say when you walk in a room. And I think most people, not just actors, business people, make the mistake of not doing this critical work before they invest time and money and energy in their career infrastructure. Like I said, real pictures, websites, social media, stylists, PR. What's the genetic code of all of that? That, you guys, is value proposition. And it's crucial to take the time to fine-tune and distill your value proposition. And I do this in the career work with clients one-on-one, and I'm going to take you into some of that process. The exercise, and you're going to want a pen to write some of this down because I'm going to be giving you some really cool questions here. The exercise of stating and sharpening value proposition is worth quite a bit of time and thought. The process forces you to improve your clarity on key business strategies like, one, you guys, who is your ideal customer? Okay? Like, who is your ideal producer, writer, director, production team, casting director? And that's why the first question I asked you guys was, what do you want? Because getting what you want was never never as easy as it is right now. So like, what do you want? Who is your ideal customer? Industry customer. What need are you solving for them? What need are you solving for them? 3, whom are your prospects comparing you to? And what is the number one reason that somebody should choose you, should hire you, should be excited about you? Answering these questions and like distilling it down to a concise statement, because that's what a value proposition is. It's a concise statement, is a challenge, and it's overwhelming. It's hard because they're big questions and they're important questions. So like acting, resist the temptation to try to solve the problem in your head. It has to be discovered. It's very important. Resist the temptation, especially now with what's going on with the virus and everything in life, you guys. You cannot solve major problems in your head. It has to be, as Stella Adler said, run through imagination and discovered to be put into your experience. And I'm going to read a quote from her in a little bit. So the process of stating and fine-tuning your value proposition is worth all the time and thought you could possibly give it. The process, it like forces you to improve clarity on key business and career strategies, like who are you? What do you stand for? Where do you fit in the industry world? Who are the people you want to work with? What needs are you solving for them? And whom are industry leaders comparing you to? And you guys, what is the number one reason why you're the best choice? This isn't what we're going to unload when we pitch and when we call and we ask in the right way for virtual coffee meetings or virtual general meetings. These are the steps that we use to distill a concise value proposition statement. Distilling it down to a brief and impactful statement and seeing instant results is fun and empowering. And there's a lot of clarity and power that comes from a meticulously crafted value proposition where your prospective industry collaborators hear it. They'll say, wow, you are the solution to my problem. I need you on my team. And I want to give you even more information, a little bit of information in the form of a beautiful quote. Now, some of you guys have seen Westworld. Anybody see Westworld? Yeah. First season of Westworld, at the very end, there was a brilliant quote that Anthony Hopkins spoke, and it is a masterclass in marketing and branding. And I want to read it to you. It's really beautiful. So the context is this. One of the chief story designers shared a story idea with Anthony Hopkins, and it was very elaborate, and he put a lot of energy into it and time into it. And Anthony Hopkins basically said, nope, I'm not into it. He basically poo-pooed it. And this is what Anthony Hopkins said. And like I said, it's like a masterclass in branding and marketing. He said, it's not about giving the guests what you think they want and substitute guests for the people that you're pitching and collaborating with, writers, directors, producers, casting. It's not about giving the guests what you think they want. The guests don't return for the obvious things we do, the garish things. They come back because of the subtleties, the details. They come back because they discover something in you they imagine no one had ever noticed before, something they fall in love with. They're not looking for a story that tells them who they are. That's this niche and type stuff. No one's looking for that. They already know who they are. They're here to engage with you guys because they want a glimpse of who they could be. The only thing your story tells me, Mr. Sizemore, is who you are. And I just love that. I think it's beautiful because it really helps you to think about, not to talk about, when you're pitching, not to talk about the things you think are cool about you, the niche-y, typey stuff, the things that 100 other actors can also lay claim to. It's important to think outside of yourself and someone looking in what they're going to think is awesome, what's going to be valuable to them, not what you think is awesome. You have less than half a second for the person hearing the pitch, whether it's your reps or you, to either buy it or not buy it. You have seconds, okay, when you're reaching out to major writers, directors, producers. And the path to doing this is, like I said, it's not a one-size-fits-all. It takes hours when I work with a client to distill the very unique value proposition that's going to unlock the door to literally competing for every major film and TV role they're right for, top tier auditions. But I'm giving you guys a roadmap to this because I can't work with all of you individually like this. You have less than half a second for the consumer to either buy it or not buy it. And you have to communicate during that half second on the phone. What? Basically, like, who are you? Like, who are you? What do you do? And what are you about? What are you, or who are you? You know, what is your brand? What do you do, and what are you about? To do this requires three things. One, common sense. That's important, I think, for everything. Wouldn't you agree? Two, you need to be determined. Three, you need a sense of urgency, as if to say, do it now, don't wait, don't delay. Like, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. As one of my incredible clients, Naoki Kobayashi, who was one of the stars of Ridley Scott's last movie, Earthquake Bird, has got the most incredible work ethic I've ever seen. And when I asked him, how do you get everything done that you need to get done? He said, just do it, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. It's your responsibility, if you have agents and managers, to arm them with this. It's not the rep's responsibility to figure it out for you. It's your responsibility to do this work. And I like I said, in the end, I do invite you guys. You're welcome for free to come watch my masterclass via Zoom from anywhere in the world and engage and watch the actors who have done this work, who are literally competing for new major film and TV roles every class, and we're coaching on it. You guys are all invited to reach out, and I'll give you that info at the end. Yeah, and so yeah, we've talked about this. It's sort of like the myth of representation. It's like, you know, you can't expect reps to do all this for you because they're afraid. Celebrities are in the same boat as you guys. A couple of years ago, we had a fun sort of happy hour bar event, and Matthew McConaughey came to hang out and talk to the actors, and he was sitting at the bar like everybody else. It was a couple of years ago. He had his Oscar, and one of the actors said to Matthew, he said, like, Matthew, what gets you up in the morning? You know, you kind of have everything that a lot of us think we want. And he said, he pointed to somewhere sort of far into the restaurant bar, and he said, I see something, a role, a project I get really excited about. And I imagine like staking it, like laying claim to it. It's not a given that I have it. And strategy needs to be implemented. So one of the things I'm going to tell you guys, if you do have agents and managers, it's very important that you guys are strategic partners, that you're on the support of strategy. Okay? Super, super important. We'll take questions in just a little bit. One of the former editors of Vogue magazine, Dianna Vreeland, said, show others what they didn't know they wanted yet. And so that was the sort of fun story about Zooey Deschanel when she came into the session with me and showed me this paper, and she was bummed, and it said, looking for a Zooey Deschanel type. I said, you made it. You've shown the industry what they can't live without. They have to get the second best because you know, because they can't have you. And yeah, and I think what's really important to you guys is more so now than ever is being very clear about saying no to things. There was a client, what do you not want to do? What honestly sucks to do? What's not fun? You know, I don't want to compete for auditions in the same way that I was doing, or I don't want to do these types of auditions. It's like, you know, now more than ever, you can kind of do it the way you want to do it. So just know that saying no can be a yes. One of my incredible clients, Elaine Hendricks, some years ago, you know, Elaine, who famous for Parent Trap, but now she's in, I believe it's Dynasty, and was one of the leads in Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll. Many years ago, she said, I just felt like I was waiting for breadcrumbs and handouts. I don't know if you guys feel that way, if you're just sort of waiting for scraps to fall off a truck. And she said that she really wanted to sink her teeth into something and she wasn't able to. And I said, Elaine, like, maybe now is the time to say no and to get a little bit of space. Be clear about what you don't want. And she said no to a film project. I think it was shooting in Palm Springs at the time because it wasn't in her heart to do it. And once she cleared that space, the most incredible projects fell into that space, like at an award-winning off-Broadway show and Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll. So just do it because you love doing it. I wrote an article for Backstage once. Do you truly love acting? If you don't truly love something, I don't know how it's possible to do it, to do that right now. I want to also share something with you guys before we get to some question and answer. I want to share a letter that one of the phenomenal reps that I've worked with for many years, a real sort of A-list manager, one of the most effective managers in the industry, wrote a beautiful letter about what makes for a great agent-manager relationship and what you can do to support that rep. And I think it's really beautiful because in the letter, it details a lot of the things that I've been talking about. And she said, please share this with the actors at your studio. She said, I'm in such a fortunate position of having my own business. For me, that's been everything. In the same way that I get to hire people that I admire, trust, and believe in, I also get to choose what actors I want to work with. I don't work with anyone whose work I don't, at some level, absolutely believe in. I just wonder, can you say the same about your rep? Does your rep question your audition videos? Do they stop you before they go to casting? Are they acting with fear? And she said, I don't work with anyone I don't personally like. And I think that's really important. Sometimes relationships don't develop or work out in the way that I had hoped, but that's life. It's a tough job. You have to make hundreds of phone calls for clients. And you're lucky. This is one of the biggest management companies in the industry, repping celebrity level actors. Hundreds of phone calls are made for their clients. No one has ever burned their hand making a phone call, and no one has ever caught on fire, nor has anything like what we're dealing with right now happened by picking up a phone. So do not be afraid. Do not let the expectation or the assumption of a no, as one of my great clients, Nikki Neufeld, said, don't let the assumption of a no stop you dead in your tracks from picking up a phone. She said, I don't work with anyone I don't personally like. Sometimes relationships don't develop or work out in the way I had hoped, but that's life. Hundreds of calls, clients. You're lucky if 1 in 20 of those calls pans out to a high-level appointment, and then maybe 1 in 100 appointments lands a job. Can you imagine if actors are just submitted? Can you imagine what the odds are like? It is 1 in thousands, 1 in a million. As Steve Jobs said, the ability to use the phone properly, followed by submission, followed by email, separates the doers from the dreamers. And then Sarah, this incredible manager, said it's hard to wake up in the morning and continue to do that for people you don't like, and impossible for someone whose work doesn't inspire you. That's how I feel. It might not be your relationship. It's just you have to work on it like any relationship. And she said, here are a few of my pet peeves. Don't go weeks without calling your reps, but don't call daily for a 20-minute conversation. I think that's a really good guideline for communicating with reps, you guys. And she said, this is what's useful to me, what's useful to reps. Some actors will say, if I build relationships actively with the writers, directors, and producers in the way that we're doing it at the studio, am I going to step on my rep's toes? No, just the opposite. She says, what's useful is to tell me something like, hi, Sarah, just to remind you that my friend X is directing X movie and I see it's casting now, is useful. As is, reminder, you sent me on that great project X a few weeks ago. The casting director said I was awesome, but they needed a name. I see she's now doing X TV show. Sounds like it could be right for me, is useful. Or reminder, I'm friends with X and I hear he's now directing a pilot I'm right for, is useful. What's not useful is X is looking for a 30-year-old Indian lady. The reason the things she's saying are useful is because you're coming to her on the support of pre-existing relationships. I told you guys what you're trying to do. By the time something's casting, it can be really oftentimes too late to really compete if you don't have solid irons in the fire before with the appropriate production teams, okay? And your follow-up game is just as important after the audition. There's a right way to communicate and check in. Every actor, it's different, but it has to be done. And she said, what's not useful is not communicating why you don't like something and are passing or being late or unprepared for auditions. She said, we're all humans with ego and appreciate gratitude and thanks. Finding reps you share a responsibility and share a sensibility with and connect on a personal level is so important. It'll help you through the roller coaster of this career. They should encourage you when things are looking bleak and be able to say, as I did to a client today, get over yourself. And she said, I do hope you find a dream team. So trying to give you guys a lot of background, what I really would love to talk with you about and what maybe we'll get to do, maybe I'll do it with Backstage, or maybe you guys will take me up and come to a free audit via Zoom, is to talk about the acting and how to guarantee a win when you get in the room. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. What we're here to talk about is why you shouldn't give up or feel like you're just waiting this virus out in order to stay fiercely proactive and to compete in this industry. And I detailed some really important parts, like where do you want to start? How do you start this conversation? What do you want to do? Be very clear about that. And then, how are you going to sell yourself when you pick up the phone? Or how are you going to, the reps that do pitch, that do know it was their responsibility to pick up the phone, what are you going to say to them that can't be ignored? Okay, it's like making a great acting choice. A great acting choice is one that can't be ignored. It pops somebody's head off a laptop. It's like, whoa, thank you for doing something, thank you for doing something different. It was really, it's really fun to do that kind of work. And some of you guys watching this, we have worked together and some of you haven't. Let's see, I want to make sure there wasn't anything that I have been remiss in sharing with you guys, but I do want to get into some questions in just a little moment here. Cool. I think now is really the time, you guys, to lean into the danger, to face it. There's a couple really inspiring quotes that I want to share with you. We've been sharing these incredible stories and in the communities of the classes, the Zoom classes that we've had, and I'd love to share some of this right now with you guys. It's a beautiful quote from Stella Adler quote. Stella Adler said this, and Stella Adler is not the technique I teach. I just have a lot of respect for Stella Adler and what she did say. She said, Facts, F-A-C-T-S, facts are death to the actor until they are fed through imagination and become experience. I'm going to read it again because I think it's really beautiful, because it applies to what we're going through right now collectively as a community, entertainment industry community, and it applies to how you're approaching making acting choices. Facts, F-A-C-T-S, are death to the actor until they are fed through imagination and become experience. One of my great friends, Annie Chang, who is one of the actors that booked series regular in J.J. Abrams' last show and is one of the other teachers at my studio, shared this in one of her Zoom classes last week, and I thought it was beautiful. It's like these facts, like think of it in terms of acting choices, like Joaquin Phoenix talked about this when prepping Joker, you guys. It was like he said he had an idea of how to play the role in his head. And he said, my ego felt really good about having this idea. But when I got on set and we spent a couple weeks shooting, me and Todd, the director, and I had a chat, and we just both said, this isn't working. You can't execute an idea. It has to become experience. And I would also say to you guys that resist the temptation to sort of solve the problem of how am I going to navigate, re-navigate, rethink my career in your head. I want you guys to know that you have permission, that there's a right way through this to reach out and connect with people and make a human connection. And I mentioned it a little bit before, that human connection at first. As it progresses, yes, there are certain things that can be asked. There are virtual generals and virtual coffee, but the first connections you guys make with industry people should really just be a heart-to-heart human connection where someone doesn't feel that you want something from them, where you can establish those three things, like, I'm fun to play with, I'm someone that you're going to personally like, and there's no desperation. And you can't try to do that. It's more about what you're leaving at the door when you pick up the phone, when you get into a virtual room or an in-person, in-person room. And then lastly, something else I want to share with you guys, and then we'll dive in. One of my favorite philosophers is Alan Watts. He said, anxiety and laughter are the same emotions, but from different points of view. I think it's really cool. Anxiety and laughter are the same emotions, but from different points of view. I think it's really beautiful. Another one of my favorite quotes is from Einstein, is, you can't solve a problem using the same level of consciousness that created it. The same is true with acting. The same is true with how do we navigate this career. You can't solve a problem using the same level of consciousness that created it. And with regards to acting, your best acting choices will never be found in the text. They're going to be born from it. And you're going to be doing justice to the script. And you have the added benefit of not doing the same thing that every other actors are doing by obeying the text. There was a beautiful thing that happens in life. You guys, how often do your words and what you really feel connect? How often are you speaking everything you really feel and everything you really mean? Martin Landau, the actor, said, in a well-written script, what people say to each other, the dialogue, is what a character is willing to reveal, willing to share with another person. The 90% he or she isn't willing to share is what I do for a living. So I want you guys to kind of get out of your heads a little bit, shake it up. And the last quote is a Max Planck quote, really the founder of quantum physics. He said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I think over the last couple of years, we've been building up to what's happening now, because I encourage you guys to reject this sort of cliche model of how people say you're supposed to do things. Your path to success is uniquely your own. So change your point of view, and things will start to change as you change your point of view. Thank you guys so very much. It is, it's going to be fun to engage with you guys in some of the comments in a second. You are all invited to come watch for free Masterclass or any of the classes that I teach. And it is Thursday at 7 p.m. You can come watch series leads of shows like Last Kingdom, a Game of Thrones actor, getting a workout, talking about pitching themselves. We bring the career and the acting together. You're all invited. The way to connect, obviously, is through my website, which is www.josephpearlman.com. Pearlman is Pearlman.com. Send us an email, send us a picture and a resume, and we'll set you up to come be a part of the community and hang out with us. And you guys are invited. Watch the actors getting the breakthroughs, and just sending a lot of love to you guys right now. I think the best thing is to just be supportive to each other, be loving to ourselves, be loving to each other. When we approach other people, approach with gentleness, with a lot of gratitude. Thank you guys so much for, can't tell you how many people come to me having read the Backstage articles. They're all archived on wonderful Backstage. You guys can read those and engage. But again, sending you guys a lot of love, and hope to see you guys in a free watching of any of our weekly classes. You can pick one. So thank you for listening. Let's see some questions. There's so many things we can talk about, but thank you, Michael Sessoms. It was so much fun, and I felt, it's like I'm talking into a camera and I'm talking to all you guys, but I don't know about you, but I feel this collective energy going on. It's almost like when an earthquake happens. It's my personal experience of this is like, I live in California, so we have earthquakes here. I get a little dizzy, or I feel like sort of the energy of that, and I feel this collective energy going on. I think we all do to some degree. Melina, let's see, you're asking what looks to be an interesting question. Oftentimes when you call a producer or casting director, you first get the assistant on the phone. Does it make sense to pitch them first? Yes, there's the right people to pitch to. You're not trying to jump in front of somebody, the head producer, writer, casting director. It's yes, there's the right people to approach. There's the right person. There's the right thing you're going to say. It's really important that you've distilled the value proposition, that you know specifically who you're talking to. Absolutely. There's protocol and there's etiquette for it. What is not acceptable ever, and hasn't been for a while, is just to wait around or not think that it's your responsibility to stake and lay claim to those, to build those relationships, those long-term relationships. Hey, Alexandra Spielvogel, very familiar. Thank you so much for taking the time to share. Yeah, you're welcome. This is, like I said, we're all in the same boat. Everybody's scared. It's always been like that in the industry. You need to start thinking as a collaborator, not like you're below somebody else. I think one of the things that is frustrating is sometimes in casting to see these dynamics where somehow the casting directors are above you and the actors are below you. You guys, we're all in the same boat. We're all pulling on the same string here. And I believe you guys are going to hopefully be able to rewatch this, because there were some things that I talked about in the beginning as well. Thank you. Thank you guys. Oh, what's the first step for someone who wants to get back into acting who has stopped for a long time? That's a great idea. Get back into class, okay? There's all sorts of content going on at Backstage. You're invited to come watch one of my classes for free should you want to. Get great. Remember, it's not enough to be good. You have to be great. Get to your Olympic level before you do this work. And Backstage is also letting you guys know that you'll be able to rewatch this whenever you want on their YouTube channel. It'll be permanent as I'm wiping stuff off my face and maybe spilling water. This is good. Yes, if you go to Backstage, you go to my website, read the articles, read all the articles, but the articles that I've written are about how I help actors launch their careers faster and reach Oscar potential and reject a lot of the herd mentality kind of cliche stuff that you hear a lot. So read the articles. Would you approach CDs or producers via social media too? Yeah, absolutely. Social media, what a powerful tool. But like I said, it is so important to learn how to use the phone properly. That's what I teach. We do this with actors who are Game of Thrones level actors and actors who are great and Olympic sort of level ready to go. How do you make sure that, beautiful quote from a mentor of mine, you guys, what is for you will not go by you in life. What is for you will not go by you. But that doesn't mean it wasn't your responsibility to reach out and grab it, okay? It's like, yeah, and the other thing too is it's like now is the time to let go of some of the like knee-jerk things we really want or we really need. It's important we'll get those, but focus on the human connection element of this. People are like starving for connection right now. And if you can somehow bring your incredible personalities to that phone conversation, and especially your acting, then you guys have won. 90% of your success potential is your personality. I've been talking about that and writing about that for years. My rule number one for the audition is don't guess what you think they're looking for. They don't know what they're looking for. Everyone else is trying to please them. Assume you are who they're looking for and bring yourself to it with a fun and brave choice. Not to fit in, not to back off, not to play the character description or obey the stage directions, but to stand out without screaming, to leave a mark, to have impact. You know, that's like, yeah. Let's see. Oh, what advice do you have for someone who has just made the big move to LA? Though I have been preparing to work back home. Oh man, you know, it's like more than ever, you can, you can do this work from anywhere right now. Like the classes are on Zoom, the coaching's on Zoom, but I think like stay safe, okay? Stay at home, take care of yourself, find a way to kind of, I mean, like I'm being practical here. What do we really want to do? It's like get into class, get great, come to a free audit, but like I think what's fun about the work for me is having the work groups of the classes is basically out funning the stuff that's going on in our head right now by throwing ourselves into our body and blasting these incredible emotions out of our body. And for 3.5 hours of whatever class you guys are a part of, to be able to basically melt, to out fun, to burn through the fog of all of that fear and anxiety that's going on out there by almost walking into it. Favorite philosopher Alan Watts said to lean into danger. It's how you dissipate it. He said, if you ever see a ghost, don't walk away. It'll pick up on all your fears. Just walk right into it. And I think jumping into classes right now, jumping into coaching is a way to walk right into it. Because those things don't exist. They exist in our head. And what really matters are what we feel, our emotional attitudes. And acting classes and doing this kind of work, honestly, is the most healing work I can possibly think of doing right now. So join class is a long answer to your question, is join class. Yeah. You know what? I'd love to give you an example. I'd love to give you an example of a pitch I put together. Someone said, give me an example. Yeah, let's do it. So phenomenal client who did some work on Broad City. And again, you guys, like, don't try to solve the problem of how to, do this in your head. It has to be distilled. It has to be worked out. I gave you some good questions and some good starter questions. But when I do this work with the actors, I ask about 100 questions. It's like, take the time that you need to do this. They're very important questions to ask. So one of my clients it talks about it like this. The people who recognize me from Broad City always tell me how hilarious I am and how sweet I seem. What's important for me, what I love, are playing roles that represent the underdog, because it's important for me to give people hope and a voice so they can say, oh, that's me. At the heart of it, I want people to feel like I'm telling their story. There's so much going on in that. There's so much going on in that, and talks about who he is as a human being. It references some high-level work. It establishes that he's a colleague, that he's an equal. A lot of hours went into putting something like that together, and it doesn't matter whether you've booked high-level stuff yet or not. It is still possible to create dynamic and powerful language to get a wow on the other end of that phone. To start a relationship. Like I said, now, if you can really build a relationships with people in the right way, you guys, these are friends for life, okay? And part of your strategy should be like, maybe there's people that maybe there's people that you've worked with in the past. It's like, it's such a great time to strategize. How do I reconnect with those people without them making them feel like I need something, or there's desperation, or I want something from them? Let's see. Thank you, Emily Phoenix. Thanks for watching. Is it too important to know how to cry on cue? No, it's not important to know how to cry on cue at all, because that's a result. Trying to cry on cue. If crying happens, it happens. Okay? Don't ever try to force yourself to cry on cue. Why? Because it's what everybody's going to try to do. And it looks like you're trying too hard. And once you've achieved that, where do you go? Okay? Every scene always starts in one place and goes to another. And when you start acting, you guys, I really, really do invite you to join the work for free and watch. But all the preparation that you do never has any place in the final product. Okay, we never want our work to reek like an acting training exercise. We always have to ball it up and throw it out the door before we start the acting. And you think of great acting preparation, I always describe as like a properly packed parachute that prevents a skydiver from falling to his or her death. All you have to do when you jump out is pull the ripcord and leave it alone and let the parachute of preparation guide you, or maybe you'll crash, who knows? But we ask all these questions. It's like we mix some concoction together in a bucket. And then when we're ready to act, it's like we dump it down, drop it at the top of the mountain and let it go. And what's going to happen is it's not going to go down the mountain the same way. It's going to form a new stream, river every single time. So no, don't cry on cue. It's important to know emotionally what's going on and then pack it up and leave it alone. You don't want to do what everyone else has done. I want to share with you guys something really neat too, and won't go too long. But if we, so anybody watch the great show Barry with Hader, with Bill Hader? Well, Bill Hader and Alec Berg were talking about the casting process for Barry, specifically casting Henry Winkler, and I want to share with you this neat story. So Hader and Berg were talking about casting Henry Winkler, and they said, when it came time to cast Henry Winkler as Gene on our show, the character was written much darker, angrier, more narcissistic. He was just too full of himself. And as soon as we saw Henry playing that role, it just utterly changed sort of the backstory of the character. As soon as we saw this actor playing it, it changed the whole backstory for us, because Henry Winkler is such a naturally warm and kind person that it was just so much more interesting to see a guy who in acting class is this powerful figure, and then clearly in his life, he doesn't have the same control. And when he leaves the building, he's just a smaller, lost guy. The joy of series television, they said, Alec Berg and Bill Hader, the joy of serious television is that thing of you cast talented people who put their spin on things. And then you watch what they do and you go, oh my God, that's not what we had intended at all. That's better. And now we're going to write back to them and they're going to take that and put their spin on it. It's like this great tennis match, they say, where you know if you're listening to each other, you go back and forth and you keep elevating the material. And I think that's the best thing that I can tell you guys about this acting process. It's like, do your version of it. I think so many folks, even with regards to sort of how to do the career, it's like obeying what they think they're supposed to do. And yes, I don't, it is important to be great and to know how to do this before reaching out, because it is a small industry and you're going to get opportunities faster this way. But you can also close a lot of doors if your acting is not as great as it could be, and that is yours. Nobody can steal your watch and sell it back to you. That is yours. It's how do you get that? And I think, again, come and watch a class for free and email us through the website. And good. Oh, great. That's nice. Okay. So wonderful tips. Oh, what would you suggest to an actor who's not a native speaker but tries to find their way through different accents? I think that's fine. I think if you're not a native speaker, I think it's really important to learn how to do an American accent because you're going to shut out a lot of percentage of roles that require an American accent. Does that make sense? So don't change your accent, because that's part of who you are. But it's also important to know how, if someone wants an American accent, for you to be able to do that as well too. And there are people to work with who are really good at helping people to do that. Yeah. Oh my God, what does do you mean? Someone said, do you? What does do you mean? It's like realizing, you guys, that you have everything you need. You don't need somebody to give it back to you. Your personality is your secret weapon. It was an early article I wrote on Backstage. It's like who you are is what's going to sell you when you walk in the room. And your personality is what you're bringing to a role. You're not playing yourself, but you're bringing yourself. You're asking yourself with the acting, under what condition would it be possible for me to do this? Not how do I play that character? That's what every other actor is saying. How am I going to play that person? How am I going to please that casting director? You know, it's like you should be striving towards, you're performing for a producer, writers, directors, and casting directors. 90% of the performance is your personality. My mentor was a gentleman named Jeff Corey, was a character actor. 200 film and TV projects. He's died some years back. And Jeff coached James Dean for Rebel Without a Cause, and Jack Nicholson, and Cher, and Robin Williams, and taught Steven Spielberg acting in it with this really cool class he had in Malibu in a room above his garage. And Bob Dylan was his neighbor and would come out during breaks. It was crazy cool. And Jeff said 90% of the performance is the personality of the actor. You're not playing yourself, you guys. It's not about playing yourself. It's about finding your version of it. Under what conditions would it be possible to do this kind of stuff? Yeah. Some good question. Can you have more than an agent? I mean, you can have an agent, you can have a manager, and you can do this stuff on your own, you guys. I think the message that I want to leave is this. It is not slow. Not because I say it's not slow. It's because it is busy. It's busy in different ways, okay? Like sort of a hive. Things are going at 100 miles an hour under the surface. Writers' rooms are busy. And it's really, really important to go inward a little bit and to start to think about, how do I connect with people in a really heartfelt way without feeling like they want something? How do I build relationships that are going to serve me throughout my entire career right now? Yeah, good. You're welcome, Damaris. Yeah. You're welcome, Kristen. Yes, anybody can watch. You have to send an email, send a picture and resume. If you don't have a picture and resume, send an email and let us know your career goals, but check in with us. We want to loop a lot of folks in. I just want to thank you guys. I want to thank Backstage so much for putting this together. You guys mean a lot to me. I've been writing for many years. I really enjoy it. And like I said, the last article, check it out. It's about how to teleport to an A-list career. It's the next level of your career is just one job away. And the same is true now as it was weeks ago, before we're all, kind of hunkered down in this process. But I just think the best thing we can really do is to love and support each other right now and look at things differently, similar to that Max Planck quote that I shared with you guys. Yeah, you're welcome, Backstage, and can't wait to collaborate like this again. I hope you guys all stay safe. Happy is most important. And remember, I think it was Maya Angelou that said, people don't remember what you do, they remember how you make them feel. If you can kind of think about, what do I want to make somebody feel? Not what I want to do to put them to work. I think you have it made. And I really do mean this, you guys. You guys have everything that you need right there with you right now. Not somebody else to you have everything that you need. So be well, and can't wait to hang out with you guys. Again, check out the articles, and I hope to see you watching one of the classes this week or next. And thank you very, very much. Cool, you guys. Be well. Bye.